history. And you're a 22-year police officer, is that, or were?
Retired.
Retired police officer. What's your reaction to the defunding police across the nation, and what impact is that having on these skyrocketing rates?
Well, I believe that you could see, well, any American can see over the past year of the violence and the rioting that it just doesn't make any sense to us. It doesn't make any sense to vilify and demonize and undermine the police department, which you're saying is going to be our savior when we give up our firearms. And now we're really understanding that we are our own first responders. We are responsible for our own safety. And that's why, I mean, as frustrating as it is for Mr. Gutenberg, I'm just as frustrated for the exact opposite reasons. It's just interesting to hear him say that, because I feel the exact same way, that why are we not working together, and why are we not looking at the truths and the evidence that these guns don't work? All of these places that these are, 95% of these mass killings are in gun-free zones. It's a problem. It's not a gun problem. It's a gun-free zone problem. No. So it doesn't make any sense to the average American that we would defund the police and push gun control at the same time.
Thank you. I'd like to read a quote to you from a United States senator on the Senate floor some years back. During my 12 and a half years as a member of this body, I have never believed that additional gun control or federal registration of guns would reduce crime. I am convinced that a criminal who wants a firearm can get one through illegal, untraceable, and registered sources with or without gun control. That was Senator Joe Biden, by the way, quite some time ago. Now, in all fairness, he's changed his mind on a whole lot of things, like protecting innocent unborn lives, the most vulnerable above us, but I digress. The comments that he made back there, do they seem, for the most part, accurate and reasonable?
I agree that they are accurate and reasonable, and I included in my written testimony Susanna Hupp, who was in a mass killing, because I'm a shooter. I kind of get offended at the shooting part. A mass killing, and she's preaching the same thing 30 years ago. She testified. I was watching her. It's in my my written testimony, those links to when she was testifying almost 30 years ago, and she's speaking the truth. She's saying that gun-free zones kill, that magazine restrictions are not effective, and that she was legislated out of the right to protect herself. She left her gun somewhere else so she wouldn't have it in a gun-free zone. She's saying the same thing. The truth remains the same. But as you can see, Mr. Biden has changed his position, and I believe that's because it's not truthful.
Okay. Thank you, and I've only got about a minute left, so I have one more thing I'd like to ask you. And you had, I think, a very impactful written statement, opening statement as well. The challenge is getting it in 5 minutes, so there was a lot in your written statement that you didn't have time to do in your oral statement. So let me ask you this. You had a quote in here. It says, gun control laws sound good, but do nothing to prevent criminals from committing crimes. Could you kind of expound upon that, what you meant by that?
Right. I think that we need to hold criminals accountable. We have been so soft and bending over backwards to let bad people out of jail. You've seen it over the past several years, but when people commit crimes, they should be held accountable instead of continually making more laws that is only going to continue to make more criminals. You know, you're legislating me into being a criminal every time you want to take away my bump stock or every time you want to take away my magazine restrictions. Why should the burden be on the law-abiding? Why can't we hold people that make ghost guns? Why can't we, it's illegal to sell them. Why can't we hold them accountable already with the laws that are already in place?
Thank you. My time's expired, Madam Chair. Go back.
Gentleman's time has expired. We now recognize Congresswoman Bass. I'm sorry. Nadler, I'm not ignoring you. We now recognize Mr. Nadler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Muller, your statement that the purpose of the Second Amendment is to prevent government tyranny necessarily means that people who think government policies are tyrannical have the right to turn their guns on American troops. I find that appalling.